Roman Reigns is a man on the island all by himself, and I cannot wait to see how he responds. I'd be willing to bet pretty heavily on a Ford winning this week. I have no issues with Gunther tapping to Jey. How the heck is Dominic Mysterio all of a sudden beloved by the crowds? Welcome to Left Turns, Red Hooks, episode number 17. I'm your host, Dan Lindsay. With WrestleMania 41 behind us and NASCAR getting their only weekend off, we got a little bit of both on today's podcast. On the NASCAR side, I've got some opinions on some racetrack decisions for 2026, and I'm debuting a new segment, 2 Up, 2 Down. WrestleMania week is over on the main roster, and there's a lot to unpack. Later in this episode, I'll share some quick thoughts on most of the matches from the card and dig deeper into a new faction we now have in WWE. So let's get into the NASCAR with turn 1, 2 up, 2 down. Let's start with the two drivers I feel on a downward trend this week as we get back to the track at Talladega. First up, Alex Bowman. Now, it is hard to kind of call a driver that's currently 10th in points on a downward trend, but it hasn't been that great of the last couple weeks for Bowman. In the stretch of races from Phoenix to Homestead, Bowman posted 3 straight top 10s and notched 30 points in each of those races. In the 3 races after Martinsville, Darlington, and Bristol, he has scored 39 points in total. Including Coda, Bowman has rattled off 4 straight top 10s, but hasn't managed to crack the top 25 in the last 3 races. That's even tougher when he qualified 3rd in Martinsville and won the pole at Bristol. Granted, those tracks are the tracks that your luck can go from bad to good and right back to bad in the blink of an eye, but Bowman was likely very thankful for having this past week off. My second driver on the downward trend this week is Michael McDowell. A super speedway could do this team wonders. In the past 4 races, McDowell has just 1 top 15 finish and has finished out of the top 25 in 2 consecutive races. McDowell has yet to notch a top 10 this year, despite qualifying 7th at Phoenix and nabbing the pole at Vegas. McDowell is struggling to gain measurable points too. He's gained just 15 total over the last 2 weeks, and he hasn't cracked more than 30 points since back at Coda. On the 2 up, we've got some surprise names that we didn't think we might hear from this year too much. First up is AJ Allmendinger. The Dinger has yet to finish outside of the top 25 since Coda and has managed 3 top 10s in the last 5 races, including a 9th place finish at Bristol. AJ has netted at least 20 points each race over the last 5 races and eclipsed the 30-point mark in 3 of those races. After Phoenix, Allmendinger was just 28th in points. Currently, he stands just 2 points off the cutoff line. Now, Josh Berry has a win, even though he has less points than him. Josh Berry's win would actually put him in the playoffs and leave Allmendinger currently at 17th in the playoffs, just 2 points behind Kyle Busch. The other driver trending up this week is also out of the playoffs as of right now, but has finally shown signs of life. Ty Gibbs is on the rise, jumping 6 spots in the point standings thanks to a 3rd place finish at Bristol, helping JGR land all 4 of their drivers in the top 10. Short tracks have really fueled Ty. Going into Martinsville, Ty hadn't notched more than 20 points since the Daytona 500. Since then, he's accumulated over 100 points in the last 3 races, including a 40-burger in Bristol. Up until a few weeks ago, Ty also had no top 10s on the season. Now he's gone back-to-back, finishing in the top 10, and finished 13th at Martinsville. He might need help at the 1.5-mile tracks, but this team is one of the few that can get the next-gen car around the short tracks this year. All right, moving on to turn number 2, we're going to talk about the championship track change that was reported this week by the Athletics' Jordan Bianchi. So from 2002 to 2019, one track got to host the championship weekend for all 3 series in NASCAR, Miami Homestead. That all changes next year when the championship makes a 1-year stop back at Homestead. Let all the drivers rejoice. And that's despite an entertaining spring Phoenix race that we got that hopefully translates to more exciting races at Phoenix. This change seems to mark the start of a rotation of the championship weekend at different tracks, as reports from Jordan Bianchi and his sources indicate 2027 is already being planned for a different location from Homestead. This doesn't completely knock out Phoenix. Phoenix is set to be included in this championship rotation that's being rumored, and whether it's the championship or not, it should still have its 2 races every single year. So I'm super excited for this. Homestead seems to be a favorite track among many racers, and it's one of the few tracks that you can always say the weather is great, even in the middle of November for NASCAR. Now, reports also seem to indicate that NASCAR plans to help out on the infrastructure aspect if officials can't get something done in the meantime. This would be huge if true. It means to me that NASCAR recognizes the importance of Miami Homestead. So hopefully the infrastructure gets updated over the next year and a half, no matter who's involved, and this makes this market even more desirable for fans to travel to. Now, as we take a turn around turn 3, we're going to keep going with this championship idea, and we're going to go on to an idea I'd love to propose of the championship round. So, if we're going to have a rotation of championship tracks, let's just propose expanding the championship round while we're at it. Not just one race, but a series of races. While a final championship track sounds like a great idea, my proposal is that tracks that are part of this championship rotation are actually grouped into a championship round. There already have been ideas thrown out there of doing 3 races in a championship round. I'm all fine with that race. And I say, why not consider even a 4-race championship round? Could you imagine if the first 3 races of the championship round all had different winners that were each a championship contender, making every lap of the final race a ton of pressure and tension every single lap for each of these contenders? Sign me up for that. Now, if you went to 4 or even 3 races for a championship round, you obviously have to worry about your elimination cutoffs. So we'd probably end up losing an elimination, or we just have to cut out more drivers per elimination race. With a 3 championship round, we could probably still keep it at 3 elimination races, just having to cut out 5 or 6 drivers at each cutoff point. So you have to whittle the field down a little quicker, but I still think expanding into a championship round would be a great idea. Now, on these race locations for this, it needs to be in really good climates. While Charlotte, Darlington, and Martinsville would be fun to line up in the championship round, we could be playing dangerously with the weather at those tracks at the end of a NASCAR season. To me, the most ideal tracks are Texas, Las Vegas, Phoenix, and Homestead. If you go with a 3-race championship round, you can always make one of these 4 tracks I just listed an elimination race and put the other 3 in the championship round and move that order around every year. Here's what I propose for the next 4 seasons when it comes to a championship round, or at least the championship finale. We already know Homestead is going to be the finale in 2026. I propose in 2027 we end in Las Vegas. 2028 we go back to Phoenix, and 2029 we make it Texas. Now, as you can see on this chart, I still have Texas, Phoenix, and Las Vegas listed in some fashion or order each year, and I'm basically just moving. If you were the championship finale the previous season, you're back to the top of that list. If you go with a 4-round elimination race, you go from last to the first race the next year, or you go to a cutoff race if it's a 3-race championship round. But again, 2026 Homestead, 2027 end in Las Vegas, 28 end in Phoenix, 2029 end in Texas. All right, now it's time for turn 4. I got to get my Talladega pick in before we head out. Now, I expect a coming-out party for Penske this season at Talladega. Yes, we've gotten a little bit of success from Blaney and Cindric early in the season. Blaney has done well, but can't finish well. He already has 3 DNFs in the season, the most he's had in a long, long time. Joey Logano hasn't been his usual self, but we also know how he does better come the summer months. So I expect Penske to really flex their muscles this week at Talladega. So looking at some stats, and while this is a very small sample, it's only 6 races for Austin Cindric. I did see that Austin Cindric has the best average starting mark of any active driver at Talladega. Number 1 in that list of all active drivers. And if you look at all-time drivers, he actually ranks 9th all-time, eking out some gentleman named Dale Earnhardt. Now again, small sample size, only 6 races, but it's worth noting that he's qualifying well at Talladega. As going back to current drivers and their average starting position, Ryan Blaney isn't far behind Austin Cindric as far as current drivers go, while Joey Logano even ranks the 10th among active drivers. Unsurprisingly, in those 10 drivers of the best average starting position, JGR has 3 of those guys, and Hendrick has 2 of their drivers among the best in average start. When we look at past winners, Kyle Busch has a shot at nabbing a win here, I think, because he last won here in 2023. So that was next gen as well. The other race winner in 2023 at Talladega was Ryan Blaney. Bubba Wallace, he nabbed a win here in 2021, and he's been running well as of late as well. And Brett Keselowski has the most wins among active drivers by far with 6. But he hasn't won since 2021. So while I wouldn't be shocked to see someone from the JGR camp pull out another win this week, or even by association 23-11, I'd be willing to bet pretty heavily on a Ford winning this week. Ryan Blaney, he has had some rough finishes this year, but he has been the best non-JGR or Hendrick car all year, it seems. So I'll put my stake on Ryan Blaney to pull off his 4th career win at Talladega. All right, on to our main event of this week's podcast, the WrestleMania 41 weekend recap. And I'm saying weekend because I want to include Monday Night Raw here as well. So first up, my thoughts on the card from Saturday night. It was a fine show leading up to the main event. Then the main event stole the whole show. So let's get main event Jey Uso out of the way right away. I liked this match. I thought it was great to see Jake make a comeback throughout the match, and I thought the use of Gunther's moveset was a great way to embarrass Gunther. Jey's brother Jimmy got embarrassed a few weeks ago on Raw, so it was finally time for Jey to make up for what happened to his brother. I have no issues with Gunther tapping to Jey. Again, it embarrasses Gunther. It doesn't make Gunther look bad, it just embarrasses him because Gunther embarrassed Jimmy. I think this also helps build Jey better and tells the story better. We can go back and forth all day if Gunther should have lost to Jey, but Jey winning and in this fashion is totally fine to me. Jey's the hot commodity right now. Gunther is a force, no matter what. Jey had to overcome a mountain, and he finally overcame his mountain. I feel you can build Gunther up really well, really quickly, and forcefully, aka taking out Pat McAfee on Raw this past Monday. I think that's going to help Gunther look better right away, and probably even make this match look even better retrospectively. So again, no issues with Jey winning this title. Good for him. Proud of him. This doesn't hurt Gunther in any way. I know I'm in the minority, but it does not hurt him. Moving on to the World Tag Titles. This was one of the picks I got wrong from the weekend. I was hoping for the War Raiders to retain, just so the New Day could chase those titles a little bit longer. But at the end of the day, I have no problem with the New Day winning here. Now we just need to build this tag team division more. We have some teams out there that are willing to tackle this, but we just need to give them and or the War Raiders some fresh opponents right away, and hopefully even get a rematch, if not at Backlash, maybe at something like Money in the Bank. But we should get a rematch of these two teams soon, but maybe keep them separated. Got to build this pool of contenders for the World Tag Titles on Raw. Moving on to Jade and Naomi. This was a fine match for me. It looks like Jade is still learning in the ring a little bit. I'm okay with that, though. I felt the match was clunky here and there, but overall, it really showed the strength that Jade has. I'm sure she'll keep getting better in the ring, and Naomi is a good dance partner here. Again, some awkward spots, but that's to be expected. In Triple H, we trust, right? I know Jade will figure this out. She's got the talent, she's got the athleticism, she's got the strength. She'll figure this out. The bigger question for me is, when do we get Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair? I don't know what they're going to do with Naomi either, but now I'm looking forward to Jade and Bianca tearing it up in the ring sooner than later. Next up on Saturday was the U.S. title match. Now, it's not always easy to make the loser of a match look strong, but I felt LA Knight was given just that against Fatu. I think it was inevitable that Fatu was going to win this match. I'm very happy it was a clean match. No solo interference at all was a wonderful thing. Thank you, WWE. Congrats to Jacob Fatu. And I'm also wondering if the aftermath of Fatu winning and Roman being betrayed by Paul Heyman could cause maybe a Bloodline 3.0 to be formed. I get some more ideas on that a little bit later. And one of the matches I'd like to forget on the WrestleMania card, we had a name of a coffee versus one of the best luchadors in the world. Yes, I'm talking about Rey Fenix and El Grande Americano. It's a coffee. Why is this a wrestler name? This doesn't make sense to me, the story, in a way. And it's kind of unfortunate that Rey Fenix had to take a loss in this situation. I get it. He was a replacement for Rey Mysterio, but to me that means if Rey Fenix took the loss, Rey Mysterio is probably going to take the loss. At least he didn't try to pull the mask off of Rey Fenix. I was expecting a little bit of the Creed brothers and maybe LWO or Dragon Lee to come out and help a little bit, but this match just didn't excite me whatsoever. The storyline, I think it's going to be tough to see where it goes. If it goes anywhere with Rey out, we don't know how long Rey Mysterio is out. And Rey Fenix is on SmackDown. Now, could we see Rey Fenix come over to Raw? Sure. But we already have all the LWO. We have Dragon Lee. So I'm kind of hoping they keep Phoenix over on SmackDown, keep him over there, and let the LWO versus American Made battle this out. So again, the storyline doesn't really do it for me. It's a decent match, but at the end of the day, when I come after this match, I'm thinking they just need to build up Phoenix fast so this loss doesn't taint the start of his WWE career. Another match that I wasn't really all that hyped up on was Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte Flair. It's a great entrance from Tiffany. Might have been the highlight of this whole segment, honestly. Her coming out with all the different Barbies. Very creative, very clever. This match, ho-hum. I'm just glad Tiffany won. And honestly, our outfits were very similar. So that made the match a little hard to watch and to follow. And that's really all the notes I have on this match. I just wasn't all that excited. I'm, again, glad Tiffany won. She deserves to win. Where do they both go from here? Who knows? But I hope we don't get a rematch. That's all I ask. There's no reason for a rematch, but yeah, just not a lot to say here about Tiffany and Charlotte. I'm just glad that Tiffany retained the title. The main event, that was incredible. The main event of Saturday night was just everything we were wishing and hoping it would be, completely made up for the Saturday night card. I think if you take out the triple threat match, you're looking at like a C grade on the whole Saturday night. You throw in the triple match, that's a B plus A minus range if you ask me. So the main event was a banger. Triple threats are always chaotic, and as they stand for the OTC, the first low blow was met with joyous cheers. The second, well, that was met with a little bit of shock. Honestly, though, I should have seen this coming. Chris was on the pod a few weeks ago when we were talking about our match predictions, and he predicted this match correctly on the nose, saying Rollins was going to win, Roman was going to eat the pin. So, got to give his flowers to that. Thank you, Chris. And other storylines that I was kind of starting to finally give credence to, of Paul Heyman possibly joining forces with Rollins. That's something Tyler said off air, though, so we didn't get it recorded, but I can assure you Tyler was speculating about Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins, and that happened as well. I was not ready for that. Even when it happened, I still wasn't ready. My hope is that Paul is playing an extremely long con here. And honestly, a long con like they should have done with Brock Lesnar and Roman a couple years ago. But it's so hard to say where this story is going to go. Again, wonderful faction that we have here with Seth being led by Paul Heyman. Now you throw Braun Breaker into that mix. That's just chef's kiss. They're going to be two hateable guys, but people are going to still love their entrances because wrestling fans are weird like that. But the potential for these two teaming up and having Paul Heyman at the helm is innumerable. As a bloodline story, I love the constant twists and turns. And I find it interesting with Roman Reigns right now. He has always said he's on the island of relevancy. Everybody who wants to be on the relevant island has to be on the island with him. Well, now Roman Reigns is a man on the island all by himself. And I cannot wait to see how he responds. I don't think he's going to go away anytime soon. Maybe for a week or two, just to rest up, sell the injuries, whatnot, do all that fun stuff. But I really can't wait to see where this goes. And then Monday Night Raw, Roman comes out for a confrontation and gets thwarted by Braun Breaker. That was beautiful. Out of nowhere, just like we had the RKO on Cena at the beginning of the show, we had the out of nowhere spear from Braun Breaker to end the show. And it was just a wonderful, wonderful thing. I truly believe everything counts. And so I kind of wonder, is Paul trying to move on to the next big thing and push out Roman? If that's the case, good luck, Paul. I don't think you're going to get Roman out of this situation anytime soon. So to thwart Rollins and Braun, the obvious short-term team-up is Roman and CM Punk against Rollins and Braun. I won't even touch on how that match could end. I just think that would be spectacular. Just four dudes just really mixing it up, all at the top of their game right now. That would just be awesome. I do think in the long term, we could get a Bloodline 3.0 down the road. Jey, he's off doing his own thing. I'm sure Jimmy's going to either be off on his doing his own thing, or he's going to just join up with Jey. Well, that remains to be seen. But with Roman kind of being a tweener, I think Roman's going to go recruit Fatu to even up the odds again. And I think for everyone that the Heyman faction adds, we're going to see Roman add to his Bloodline faction once again, Bloodline 3.0, bigger and better than ever. And I hope it includes some new family members as well in this. You know, this could go completely off the rails, this idea that I have about a Bloodline 3.0. I don't know exactly where they're going to take any of these storylines. It could be a long time before we have any of those answers. But I find it fascinating that it could possibly go that way. Moving on to Sunday night, it was the complete opposite of Saturday. Match after match after match was banger after banger after banger, as Sheamus would say for the Sunday card. The other triple threat between Io, Bianca, and Rhea could compete with the men's triple threat as match of the weekend. Chaos ensued once again. It was electric. I'm super happy to see Io retain the title, and I don't think it'll be long until we see Rhea hunting her down for regaining the title that she lost to Io. After the women's triple threat, the street fight was next, and it was incredible. Each man took massive bump after a huge bump and still stood up to fight. Great call, obviously, to me for Drew to win here. And we definitely saw toughness from Damian. So hopefully this is a really good blow-off match that they just need to do at WrestleMania, that we could see both these guys go into completely different storylines post-WrestleMania. I could honestly see Damian starting up feuds with Braun Strowman or LA Knight, maybe Jake Fatu, but Damian going after the U.S. title once again, I'm perfectly okay with that. He's main event status to me, but there's only room for so much of that right now. So I could see Damian going after the U.S. title or just entering into a feud with someone. All right, next up is a match that I have a lot of thoughts on. It's the Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship. Honestly, the only thing that would have made this match better was Penta winning. Yes, that was my pick. I got it wrong. And I'm just trying to figure out how the heck is Dominic Mysterio all of a sudden beloved by the crowds? During the match, the boos were kind of heard, but mostly cheers for Dominic every time he got in the ring. And Dominic looked good. No, nothing against him there, but I just don't get the sudden change in the crowd toward Dominic. I don't think he can hold his own against just Braun Breaker. I don't think he can hold just his own against someone like Penta. But maybe Balor, when it comes down to it, could elevate Dominic, which would be interesting. But I just, one-on-one matches, I just don't know how well Dominic will fare against guys like Braun and Penta. This is easily my most shocking moment of the entire card, mainly because Jey Uso winning seemed obvious. We all pretty much knew Cena was going to probably beat Cody since Cena's the heel here. So there's a few storylines of story beats that I am not surprised happened. I don't think a lot of people are surprised happened, but it's very curious to see where a lot of these storylines go that are nice and fresh. Speaking of shocking, I believe in Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry coming out to face Randy Orton is probably 1B in shocking moments of the weekend for me. And what a perfect one-off for Randy Orton having his 20th WrestleMania match. Something that honestly probably should have been marketed even more than it was. But we're here now. But I still think just having Randy and Joe Hendry mix up in the ring was just a beautiful moment. And Randy gave Hendry his flowers too after a post-match RKO, of course. All right, moving on to AJ Styles and Logan Paul. I was really hoping for a Styles win. I even picked AJ, but I'm not surprised that the Maverick Logan Paul won here. He is a big deal, and AJ seems like a perfect opponent for him to pick up a win over. I'm glad AJ paid Paul back after Logan stole the Styles clash. But again, I'm not surprised that Logan won. I'm glad we got to see Karrion appearing again. Here's hoping we get a nice long feud between Karrion and AJ Styles. Maybe we even get Karrion and Logan Paul. Karrion is pretty heated about this whole match. I think it's great. Hope it's not over the line. But seemed to be playing it pretty well. He was on Sam Roberts' podcast after WrestleMania. And Monday Night Raw, Karrion and Styles weren't exactly happy with each other either then. So I'm hoping for more of Styles and Karrion, or maybe even Karrion and Logan Paul. The women's tag title was the match after Logan and AJ. And the biggest thing I was watching in the women's tag match was who's going to return with Lyra Valkyria. Becky Lynch was that person, got a great prop, and was very appropriate considering everything. What was interesting to me, though, was the sudden rematch on Monday Night Raw. No explanation. They're just like, we're doing the rematch. Now that we have a heel of Becky, too, it'll be nice to have an established veteran to help push Lyra over. And now we get to actually see if Becky will actually win the new women's IC title to add to her collection, or if this is just purely putting Lyra over. Both of the women's secondary titles need a pool of opponents, and they need that soon. Might as well throw the women's tag titles in there too. And let's just say I don't want any of these titles defended like just once a month on television. Given that Liv is a title holder for the Women's Tag Team Championship, that to me says they're going far with this thing. And finally, the ultimate letdown of WrestleMania, Cody Rhodes, John Cena. I was hoping Cody would retain, but the story beats really just showed that Cena was going to win number 17, and he was going to do everything imaginable he could to make sure he won. Yes, it was a super odd finish. Why was Travis Scott there? Why wasn't The Rock there? A lot of questions that seem to still be unanswered to this day at the moment. But I am glad that we have finally got number 17 on John Cena. Now we just get to see some good old throwback matches until Cody is ready to come back for the title that John Cena has. Orton and Cena at Backlash seems pretty obvious after the surprise KO from Randy to start the show. I'm guessing Cena would retain, and maybe this can get us to Orton and Rhodes teaming up and eventually having those two feud as well. That's all my thoughts on WrestleMania 41. I hope you enjoyed the card as much as I did. Again, some not so great matches versus a lot of really good matches. No matches that were bad, just some storylines that I personally couldn't get quite into, and I'm sure you like storylines that I wouldn't be in, and you probably dislike some of the storylines that I talked about that I do like, and I get that. Everyone has their thoughts, their opinions. There are a lot of options for every wrestling fan out there. So let me know what you think about the card in the comments below. Please like and share this video if you can. Pass it on to all your wrestling and NASCAR friends. And please nail that subscribe button for me too. Thanks for watching and have a good